Hey everybody, it is the Honey Badger, and today we're going to go over what it takes to start the work you need to do to spray your own bed liner into your pickup truck. So this is a 36-year-old bed. It is very worn, very beaten up. It's never had really any bed liner in it. You can see from all the scratch and the surface rust in here. It's going to definitely take a bit more prep work than maybe a newer pickup truck to get things to the level of doneness we want before we spray our bed liner, but we're going to be able to do this for right around $100. So maybe just a hair over, just kind of depends on some of the materials you do and don't have, but the bed liner kit itself is only about $100, and that's going to save you a lot of money compared to us having it done professionally. And we're just going to jump in here and start prepping and sanding with some 80 grit to kind of break down the top layer of paint, get some of the scratches and scuffs and all this surface rust out of here, and start prepping. Prep work. I could say it a million times, is going to be what you definitely want to get right when spraying anything, honestly. So we'll get the interior of the bed done, and then we can move to this gross exterior on a different project. But for now, let's get into it.
Like I mentioned, we used 80 grit sandpaper to start prepping the bed of the truck. If you need to use something lower or higher, go for it. The main thing you want to do is make sure all surfaces of the bed are scuffed so you have the optimal contact for the bed liner to adhere to. The raised ridges of the bed make it harder to sand the lower sections and edges, so for those spots I ended up sanding it down the length of the bed by hand. It luckily wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, so just make sure you take your time and hit all surfaces you plan on spraying.
So progress is being made. The bed is coming along. We have some bare metal showing now. We obviously have still more to do. We'll have to prep that bare metal before we spray the bed liner, but overall things are going nicely. We got dust at the back. We had some rust, but luckily nothing that was catastrophic or eating through the bed, so just a lot of surface rust back here, but we're gonna get treated. We'll get more sanding done, we'll get it prepped, and we'll get it washed out so we can spray our primer in here before we spray the bed itself.
After you finish sanding, you'll want to make sure you get all dust and dirt and any other particles out of the bed by giving it a good bath. If your bed is super dirty before you start sanding, make sure that you spray off any of that before you start as well. You'll want to scrub the bed with soap that helps break down any grease and oils that will cause problems when you spray in your bed liner. Time to rinse out all of the junk you've scrubbed out of the bed, and you're on your way to the next optional step, which is to spray in a self-etching primer.
Okay, so we've actually gotten a pretty good amount of the way into the project now. We've got the spray-in self-etcher primer on the bed over that bare metal. I've seen people skip that step with this product before. I'm gonna go ahead and do it because I had a decent amount of bare metal and it's an older bed, so that was probably the best choice. Obviously do what you need to do, but I've seen people skip that before. You can probably still get pretty good results, but they do recommend doing that. So we have the self-etcher in there, which is why it looks the way it does right now. We'll do a last minute clean out and blow out any of the dirt and debris that may be in the bed from just it drying and anything in the air before we start to spray, so we have the best contact area for the liner. We have our Raptor liner. We got 4 bottles of it with our hardener. We'll just mix it into the bottle, obviously measure it, we'll get that right, shake it for a couple minutes, and then that screws directly into the gun that they provide, which will hook up to our air compressor to spray into the bed. Pretty simple. The last thing we need to do is we have some of our tape off work done. Last thing we need to do is put the liner over the rest of the bed or the truck to protect the sides and everything else from getting some excess spray on things. Now luckily the paint on this truck doesn't really matter, so I'll be sanding it. If I get some overspray in some areas, not a big deal, but I'm still going to protect stuff because I don't want to get in areas that's just going to cause unnecessary work down the road when we go to wrap and prep the body of this vehicle. So we're going to go ahead and get that stuff going, and we'll start spraying and we'll see how it all turns out. There we have it, bed liner sprayed. It looks fantastic, and like honestly almost better than I could have ever imagined. It looks brand new, which is hilarious because there's plenty of dings and dents that are still in like the tailgate on the inside and even within the bed a little bit. But it's like completely masked all the dents and dings. It's covered everything really well. It did take all 4 bottles of the spray that it came with, and in some places you could spray it even thicker, honestly. I'm not planning on doing tons of heavy work or heavy loads in this. I've actually, since I sprayed the bed liner, it's been actually about a week. I've actually hauled a few things in this so far, and it's held up. I've thrown down tarps though because I was moving dirt and, you know, mulch and other things. But so far it's held up great. I just sprayed it out so it looks a little wet in a few shots, but it's been fantastic. And for the value, I highly recommend it. So this, you know, as much as I said at the beginning, you know, the prep work I think is one of the most important things, obviously, to get right. So this sprays really nicely, but this has been fantastic and has turned out great. So I highly recommend it. Really wasn't that difficult. Just take your time with it. This isn't anything I'd say you're gonna go do in one afternoon and get done like that. Give yourself a little bit of time, maybe a prep day and then a spray day. And then obviously you can't use your bed immediately afterwards because it needs to kind of sit and cure. But the results kind of speak for themselves. Obviously the truck now on the outside needs some more work done, which is something that's gonna be coming up real soon as we prep the body for wrapping it. So we're gonna be sanding it and getting things taken care of in a few ways, and that'll probably be a multi-video process. But make sure you have your subscription notification on and subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a like on the video because I definitely appreciate that, as it makes my insides feel good when I see more of them. And I'll see all of you guys in the next video.